Book of Mediums, Part 2, Chapter 15, goes into different types of mediums. Mediums for physical effects, electrical persons, sensitive or impressionable mediums, hearing mediums, speaking mediums, seeing mediums, somnambulic mediums, which is like trance mediums, healing mediums, and pneumatographic mediums. It says that every person who feels in any degree whatever the influence of spirits is a medium. This faculty is inherent in man, in humans, and consequently not an exclusive privilege, so there are few in whom are not found some trace of it. It might thus be said that very nearly everyone is a medium. Usually this qualification is applied only to those in whom the mediumic faculty is clearly characterized and shown by visible effects of a certain intensity, which depends on an organization more or less sensitive. It must be remarked that this faculty is not revealed in the same manner with all. Mediums usually have a special aptitude, ability for such and such order of phenomenon, which makes as many varieties of mediums as there are kinds of manifestation. These are the principal mediums for physical effects, sensitive or impressionable mediums, auditive, speaking, seeing, somnambulic, healing, pneumatographic, which is writing, or psychographic mediums. And it goes through each type. 1. Mediums for physical effects. They're able to produce material, objects, movement, and material phenomenon, such of other inert objects or bodies, noises, etc. It can be divided into optional mediums and involuntary mediums. Optional mediums are those who have a consciousness of their power and produce it by their will. But then every ability doesn't exist to the same degree in every human. If there are a few people who don't have it at all, then there must be a few of capable of producing great effects, such as suspension of heavy bodies in space, aerial, translation, and apparitions are still more rare. Most simple effects are rotating an object, rapping by the or knocking by the raising of an object, or even within a substance. Without attaching primary importance to this phenomenon, we don't neglect them. They may give, on occasion, interesting observation to aid conviction. But it is to remark that the faculty of producing physical effects rarely exists in those who have a better means of, or they're saying more perfect means of communication, such as writing and speaking. Generally, the physical faculty diminishes in one sense in proportion as it develops in another. Involuntary or natural mediums are those in whom this physical manifestation exercises without their will. They have no conscious of their power, or sometimes even that they're doing this at all, and often the abnormal occurrences around them seem to be nothing extraordinary or just part of themselves, like people with a second sight who never suspect it. These subjects are worthy of observation, collecting and studying facts of this kind, and can show itself at all ages, even very young children. It's not by itself an indication of a disease or pathological state, nor is it incompatible with perfect health. If someone who has it is suffering that proceeds from a foreign cause, it may be, in some cases, indicate an organic weakness, but is not an efficient cause. In some cases, if a medium abuses its use, there might be a weakening of organs from 2, it's saying abundant emission of the vital fluid, or I believe like an imbalance in energy. I'm just pre-reading here. saying that it's not evil to have these abilities. It doesn't necessarily a weakness. Um, that it doesn't that actually being a medium or developing is a more moral than physical order. Um, that there's a responsibility because it's saying even that a person could kill with this. Um, but then it makes some kind of like fatal belief of those who are frightened of their house being a haunt of demons. It's saying instead of encouraging like fear and this idea as a duty of morality and humanity, combat this. It's saying that when a faculty or ability spontaneously develops in a person, mostly people are left for the phenomenon to take its natural course. But then sometimes it tires a person, um, and there's like, and again, an imbalance. It's saying it's necessary to come into a relationship with the spirit to know what they want, or into a communication with the spirit to know what they want. The following method is founded on observation. Invisible beings who reveal their presence by effects are, in general, an inferior order of spirits who can be governed by moral ascendancy. And so, to this ascendancy, we must endeavor to acquire. So, sort of like authority over lower spirits. Saying that a medium must pass from an untrained or natural medium to that of an optional medium, or untrained versus trained medium. Um, there's an effect that takes place in somnambulism or trance or possession. It's known that spontaneous trances generally stop when it's replaced by magnetic uh, somnambulism. The ability is not stopped but turned into another stream or course, another direction, basically. Instead of trying to stop this phenomenon or trying to stop your abilities, which is rarely successful and not always without danger, the medium must be incited to produce them at will by overawing the spirit to master them, and from a somewhat tyrannical ruler make them a subordinate and very docile being. A fact worthy of remark and justified by experience. A child sometimes has much and often more authority than an adult because of the spiritism belief in morality and, I guess, innocence. Um, And a child, just because someone's a child, they could have development from previous incarnations superior to someone older than them. Apparently, they're getting saying. Um, this authority over spirits, the moralization of the spirit by counsels of a third influential and experienced person. So they're saying besides the medium and the spirit, there should be a third person that can help control the spirit if the medium is under the influence, basically, and unable to necessarily do this. In this category of mediums seem to belong, we're still talking about physical mediums, people endowed with natural electricity, saying veritable human torpedoes, producing by simple contact, um, effect, attraction, and repulsion. However, they're not necessarily mediums because mediums supposes the direct intervention of a spirit. Um, but in the case of which we speak, conclusive experiments have proved that electricity is the only agent of these phenomenon. This strange faculty, which almost could be called I guess they're saying like sickness or disability, may sometimes be allied to mediumship, as can be seen in the history of the rapping spirit of Bergzaburn, but often completely independent than the intervention of spirits as the intelligent character of the manifestation. However, if the spirit doesn't exist, then it could be more of a physical cause in the body, like making that energy happen. The question is to know if an electric person possesses a greater aptitude for being a medium for physical effects. We think so, but this would be the result of experience. So further tests, further observation, scientific observation is needed there, he's saying. Number 2, sensitive or impressionable mediums, people who can perceive a presence of a spirit by a vague impression, a kind of feeling throughout the whole body for which we can give no logical reason, are thus designated as a sensitive. This variety has no character. Almost all mediums are impressionable. Impressionability is rather general than particular. It's a rudimentary faculty indispensable to the development of all others and differs from purely physical and nervousness, from which it should not be confused. For there are people who don't have delicate nerves but then can feel the presence of spirits, and others who are I guess you can say like irritable personalities or very excitable, who don't have the slightest perception of spirits. This faculty is developed by habit or training and may acquire such subtlety that the person endowed with it recognizes, by the impression that they feel, not only the good or bad nature of the spirit, but even their individuality, as a blind person recognizes by an unknown sense an approach or the walking up of a certain person. He becomes, in relation to spirits, a veritable sensitive. A good spirit always makes a gentle and agreeable impression. That of a bad spirit, on the contrary, is painful, anxious, and disagreeable, as if there were, as it were, a scent of impurity. 3. Hearing mediums. They hear the voice of a spirit. As we said in speaking of pneumotophony, sometimes an interior voice, sometimes an exterior voice, clear and distinct of a living person, whereas in the soul, an auditive medium can enter a conversation. When they are accustomed to certain spirits, recognize the character of the voice. When a person is not endowed with this, they can communicate with a spirit by means of an auditive medium who fills the office of interpreter. This faculty is very agreeable when the medium only hears good spirits or those they call, but it's not the same when a bad spirit is always after him, making him hear at every moment the most disagreeable and often improper things. It then becomes necessary to get rid of the spirit by the means we indicate in the chapter on obsession. 4. Talking mediums. Hearing mediums who only transmit what they hear are not a speaking talking medium. Talking mediums often hear nothing. The spirit acts on their vocal cords as he acts on the hand of a writing medium. The spirit wishing to communicate acts on the organ he finds more flexible, on the hand, on speech, or on hearing. The talking medium usually expresses themselves without having a consciousness of what they are saying, and often talks completely beyond a customary ideas, knowledge, or their own intelligence. Although they may be perfectly awake and in a normal state, so it sounds almost kind of like a very light channeling. He rarely preserves a remembrance of what they are saying in word speech. It's the instrument that the spirit is using, and through another person can enter into communication, as can be done on the interposition of ears of a hearing medium. The passivity of the hearing medium is not always so complete. There are some who have intuition of the words that they are saying at the moment of pronouncing the words, and we shall return to discuss this when we speak of intuitive mediums. 5. Seeing mediums. Seeing mediums are endowed with the faculty to see a spirit. There are some who enjoy this in a normal state when they are perfectly awake and perfectly remember it. Others only see spirits in a somnambulic state or bordering on somnambulism or trance. It's rarely permanent. It's almost always momentary and fleeting to see a spirit. All persons endowed with second sight may be placed in the category of seeing mediums. The possibility of seeing a spirit in a dream most certainly results from this, but does not always constitute a seeing medium. We have explained this in Chapter 6 on visual manifestations. The seeing medium thinks he sees with his eyes, and as those who have double sight, but it's in reality the soul that sees, because the person could see this spirit with their eyes shut as well as them open. I'll just interject here that that's true. If you see a spirit and you close your eyes, you can still kind of see them in your mind's eye. And also, people have every ability to some degree or a few and don't have a few of the other ones as well. This last point is interesting because of the blind. The blind have told us that while living, they had a perception of certain objects, that they're not completely just in black all the time. A distinction is to be made between incidental and spontaneous apparitions of a spirit versus a medium being able to see a spirit. Because it's some more frequent at the moment of death of a person who has been loved, and that's more of a situational appearance than like a medium being able to communicate and see spirits regularly, or to give us a warning, a spirit to give us a warning, etc. It's considered temporary ability. There's some spirit mediums who only see the spirits that they call, and can recount to a T basically the smallest detail of a spirit, their gestures, their expression, their sentiments by which they're animated, and their nonverbal behavior, their costume, what they're wearing, features of their face. With other people, this ability to see a spirit is more generalized visualization. They might see a spirit come and go. Um, um, it's just getting into being able to see different spirits in public places. Many times we have witnessed spirits, the parts that they play among the living. We have seen them at many reunions, ball, concert, church, funerals, weddings, and everywhere we have found them also exciting evil passions, stirring up discord, inciting brawls, and rejoicing in their prowess. Others, on the other hand, combat this negative influence, but rarely listened to. Basically, rarely the bad spirits listen to the good ones, but they do combat them, basically. The faculty of seeing spirits can be developed, but they're saying it's best to await a natural development without trying to do it, so that you don't trick yourself, basically, just with imagination. It's not common to have very frequent visualizations. It's more rarer. Um, it's saying that it's not psychism, like a medium is not reading someone's mind who's thinking about, say, like a dead husband. In one case, a medium said, "There's a spirit beside you," and the city, whatever, the lady who's being read, said, "Oh, it's my husband." And then the medium said, "No, it's an elderly lady. Her headdress is like this, blah, blah, blah." From these details, the lady then recognized her grandmother, who she was not thinking about. Um, so it wasn't an idea of that the lady had, basically, or wasn't like a cold reading, basically. It wasn't reflective of the person's thoughts. Somnambulic mediums, trance mediums, are a variety of mediumship. Can act under the influence of your own spirit. These moments of freedom can see, hear, and perceive outside the limit of ordinary senses. What he expresses, he draws from himself. His ideas are extended from a normal state because of spiritual freedom, who lives by the life of spirits. Um, says the medium, on the contrary, is instrument of foreign intelligence, being passive. What they say don't come from themselves. Expresses the somnambulance expresses their own thought, the medium another, but the spirit who communicates to an ordinary medium could also do this with a somnambulance during the state of freedom or trance of the soul. Freedom of the mind makes communication more easy. Many somnambulants see spirits perfectly and can describe them with as much precision as a seeing medium. They can talk with them and transmit their thoughts to us. What they say beyond the circle of their own knowledge is often suggested to them by spirits. And here's a remarkable example where the double action of a spirit on a somnambulance and the foreign spirit reveals themselves. One of our friends had a somnambulist young boy of 14 or 15 who was of ordinary intelligence and limited instruction. Nevertheless, he gave the proof of extraordinary, because it's saying intelligence. He excelled in the treatment of diseases and made many cures regarded as impossible. One day he gave a consultation to a sick person whose malady he described exactly. That is not all. You must now indicate the remedy. I cannot, he answered. My angel doctor is not here. What do you mean, your angel doctor? He who dictates to me. It is not you, then, who sees the remedies? Why, no. Didn't I tell you that my angel doctor dictates them to me? Thus, with this somnambulist, the action of seeing the disease was that of his own spirit, who for that needed no assistance. But the indication of the remedy was given by another, by a spirit doctor. This other not being there, he could not answer the question. Alone he was a somnambulance, assisted by what he called his angel doctor. He was a somnambulist medium. Somnambulist faculty is lucidity that pertains to a person which is independent of elevation, advancement, or moral state, who may be capable or incapable of solving certain questions if his spirit is not advanced. He who talks by himself may say good, bad, true, or false things, according to the degree of the elevation or inferiority, that they're basically channeling their own spirit. Then the assistance of a foreign spirit, but a somnambulist may also be assisted by a lying, trifling, or bad spirit, as well as mediums. So therefore, moral qualities have a great influence to attract good spirits. And it's referring another Kardec book on spirits, somnambulism, and the chapter on the moral influence of the medium. 7, healing mediums. It's saying a glance at variety of mediums because the subject is too extended for this treatise. To see it as a special work of intuitive healing, that the medium is able to heal by simple touch, by a look or a gesture, without the help of any, I guess, herbs or oral medication. It is doubtless to say that this is nothing but magnetism. Here, the magnetic fluid here plays but a great part. And also this is referring to the idea, the philosophy of like our energy body, or the perispirit that we have as a human, our astral body, and what makes up a spirit, basically the personality in that. But it's also saying that it's more than just magnetism, because magnetism is a treatment, but not, and that nearly all magnetisms can cure if they know how to use it. But with healing mediums, the ability is spontaneous, and some even have it without even knowing about magnetism. It's a hidden power under certain circumstances. particularly when it's considered that most people that we can qualify healing mediums pray as an invocation. Um, Again, invocation, evocations, dealing with spiritual influence, energy healing, and spirit healing. And spirits assist like the energy of the client or the healer. Here are some questions addressed to the spirits on the subject. Can people endowed with magnetic power be considered as a variety of mediums? Yes. Yet the medium is an intermediary between spirits and humans, but the magnetizer, drawing their strength from himself, seems not to be an intermediary or a medium of any foreign power or spirit. The magnetic power resides in a human, but it's augmented by the spirit that we call to our aid. If we magnetize with a view to healing, we invoke a good spirit who interests himself in you and your patient. He augments your strength and your will. He directs your fluid and gives the energy the necessary qualities. 3. But there are very good magnetizers who do not believe in spirits. Do you think spirits act only with those who believe in them? Those who magnetize for good purposes are seconded by good spirits. Every man who has a desire to do good undoubtedly calls them, the same as the desire of the evil people and evil intentions they call evil spirits. Would he who has the power act more efficaciously if he believes in the intervention of spirits? Um, they're saying yes, it would be miraculous. Have people truly the gift of healing by simple touch without doing magnetic passes? Yes, have you not seen this? 6. In the case where there is magnetic action, or is it only spirits? Both. These people are mediums because they act under the influence of spirits, but it is not to say that they would be a writing medium. Can this power be transmitted? No, but the knowledge of it is necessary to use it where it is possessed. A person would not suspect that he had the power if he did not believe that it had been transmitted to them, or they must believe in their power if they're using the power. Basically, if they are doing healing, doing energy healing, then they have to believe in the power, basically. Can cures be made by prayer alone? Yes, sometimes if God permits, but perhaps the good of the sick person is that they should suffer, and then you believe that your prayers were not heard. Are there some forms of prayer more efficacious for healing than others? Superstition alone can attach a virtue to certain words, or ignorant or lying spirits can entertain us to prescribe this. Yet, for people that are not much enlightened and capable of understanding spiritual things, a formula gives them confidence. In this case, it's not necessarily the form of a prayer that is efficacious, but the faith that works. It's increased by the idea of using a formal prayer. 8. Pneumographic mediums. This name is given to mediums suitable to obtaining direct writing, which is not given to all writing mediums. This ability is extremely rare. It can be developed with exercise, but its usefulness is limited to a spirit in its manifestations. A person can try and ask for it of a spirit according to the degree of power of the medium. Simple marks, signs, letters, words, phrases, and even whole pages can be obtained. If it suffices to fold a piece of paper, put it in some place, the spirit says, for 10 minutes or a quarter of an hour, 15 minutes or longer, prayer and concentration of thought is essential. This is why it may be looked on as impossible to attain anything in the seance, but little serious or who may not be animated by sympathetic and benevolent sentiments. So if you're just fooling around, if you're not like praying and putting the power, the energy, the faith into it, the humblingness into it, the purity of thought and love and all the things, putting your heart into it, then it's going to be very difficult to manifest something to that degree, I guess they're saying. And that brings us to chapter 15, writing or psychographic mediums, mechanical, intuitive, semi-mechanical, inspired, involuntary, which is like spontaneous and trained, and mediums for presentiments.